such donor, Mrs. Otsawal and Jain. Today's webinar is on a very interesting topic, how to conduct bank branch audit from home. And to speak on this topic, we have a speaker who himself believes that technology is a way forward, CA Venugopal Gilla. Before I hand over the session to the speaker, it's a matter of pride for me to bring to the notice of all the attendees the various initiatives taken up by KSCA. As announced in the previous webinars, KSCA's meal delivery initiative is still active and we are open for more valuable contributions from any of you to help the poor and needy in their tough times. KCA has already delivered 18,000 meals to the needy people. In fact, KCA has come out with a video on the same, which is posted on our YouTube channel. You can go check the video and also contribute generously for the purpose. KCA is also organizing another webinar tomorrow at the same time on the topic of bank branch audit in COVID times and recent developments, and the speaker is Mr. CA PR Suresh. I'm requesting all the attendees to make the best use of the same and register for the same at the earliest as the seats are limited. I believe the attendees are quite familiar with the platform now. For the benefit of the first-time attendees, I would like to let you know that on the screen there is an option for a Q&A where the attendees can raise the questions and which shall be answered by the speaker either during the session or at the end of the session as per the convenience of the speaker. And now it is indeed my pleasure to introduce the prominent speaker to the audience, CA Venugopal Gella. He is a partner at the firm Venu and Vinay. He has completed his CA and with an All India rank of 45 in the year 2002. And he is a certified information security auditor. He has also done ICAI certification and courses in DISA, business valuations, internal audit, fraud detection, and forensic audit. He has also completed an one-year course from the prestigious IIM on data analytics and business intelligence. He is an active speaker on technology and its implementations and bank audits and GST audits using technology. Over to the speaker, CA Venugopal Gilla.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind introduction. I welcome all the KSCA members for today's learning session. So in this lockdown, we are unlocking the knowledge series of learning, and my best wishes to KSCA for conducting the seminars of this webinars of this mode and taking the knowledge further. And before I start, I wish everyone are hale and healthy. All your family members are hale and healthy, right? Topic is pretty, for maybe first time we are having a topic, something like this, saying that how to conduct a bank branch statutory audit from home. So now we haven't, as a finance professionals, we haven't heard ourselves that, okay, we will be working from home. Only software professionals or the fields in IT/BT, they were talking that, okay, work from home options. But now even the chartered accountants, we have come to a situation that we will also be working from home and very soon. Now, it's pretty interesting to hear that the bank branch audit being conducted from home. Now, the way I have approached the session is I will give some concepts of the bank branch audit. Most of you would be aware of these concepts. Those who are aware, treat this as a kind of a revision, but I will be spending most time on the practical aspects of the bank branch audit, and I will show some of the demo of how we can conduct the bank branch audit sitting from home. Now, when I'm saying sitting from home, I am really not exaggerating that bank branch audit will happen from the home, but at least the majority of the audit can now be done from home. I am not sure the measures which the banks would take in terms of giving the data, accessing of the data, and data privacy and other aspects. If the banks allow to connect our white labeled IP from the home to their server and access the data, pretty much well and good. Otherwise, also, definitely in any bank branch, we would have around 4 people who would be visiting the bank, doing various areas, and we always have time crunched. This is the first year where we have, by now we would have completed all the branches and the consolidation would have been going on. Still, the branch audits did not start. Now, given that there is a need that we have to protect ourselves and protect our team even from this COVID coming up, and we never know who would be the carrier unintentionally and the risks coming up, maybe the objective of today's session is to see, instead of four people going to the bank and doing conducting the audit, can we think of saying one person is there at the bank branch, they doing the front runner and distributing the load of working? People back at home office are actually doing the work, churning out whatever is required and giving back to the partner or the senior who is there. And can we do the complete the audit? So today's session is an attempt to see what are all the things which we can do remotely. Today's session is an attempt to see what are all the things which we can do remotely and how do we do it sitting at home, and what are all the tools that we need and what are the analysis that we need. So if I have to say that these are the things which we have to do sitting at home, I also have to give the comprehensive overview of what is there in the bank branch audit. Those aspects which can be done sitting at home, back in the office is parked into one category. Those which needs to be done in the front is parked in another category. In fact, very recently in one of the knowledge forum, Vasavi CA Charitable Trust, myself and Annapurna Srikanth has actually has conducted this presentation. It was very well received and people really got a glimpse of what are all the things which can be actually done from home. So the intention of today's session is I would be giving you an overview of statutory branch audit. What are the responsibilities and risks associated? Because it is equally important that we know that what are all the risks associated. So we will do what is a physical audit, what is a system-based audit, and where are the both areas are involved. What should be our documentation, and there are some checklists, and I should definitely compliment Shri Priya. Every year she prepares some checklist and shares to the members widely. Many of you would have been aware. So very beautifully drafted checklists are there, and I would be focusing on some Excel tools and techniques which will help the members to how do we use the Excel as an audit tool, prepare all this analysis and move on. And definitely there is a Q&A session which will take care of this. Most important session is tomorrow's session, where my principal PR Suresh sir would be handling on what are the recent updates which has happened, what are the RBI norms have come, and especially the relaxations that have come due for the COVID. So all those would be dealt by Suresh sir, and that would be definitely required for the people, that set of staff who is working from physically in the branch, and also the set of staff who will be working from home. So I could clearly see a demarcation this year, especially. There would be some set of organization who would strongly believe that some work can be done from the office. And as I'm interacting with my friends, they have also planned that at least curtailing 30 to 40% of their current staff to eternally work from home. Yeah. So if I have to talk about the scope of statutory bank branch audit, before I move on to the organizers, just because I cannot see any questions that coming in, or if my audio is poor, maybe you can interrupt and say if it is either the screen is not visible or audio is poor. You can just say so that I can increase the volume or anything. Hope it is clear. Am I audible? Is my voice audible to everybody?
Yes, sir, you're audible. You can go ahead.
All right, thanks. Okay. So the scope of the statutory bank branch audit, if I have combined all the aspects which we do into the bank branch audit in this. The predominant of the scope, if I have to say, is preparation of the audit report, which is our main audit report. And we have the standards on auditing report 700, where we says this is how your audit report. Banks have given this should be your audit report. Along with the audit report, we prepare tax audit report and annexures, LFAR and annexures, memorandum of changes, then financial statements. Then there are a whole lot of returns, certificates which we issue. There's a host of it. The certificates which we are issuing, I have listed on the right side. You can see interest subsidy related, sector related, advanced classification, Ghosh, Jilani and Mitra committee report certificates, the claims made by the bank, DICGC, CGTMSC, other things, various confirmation, especially high value assets, assets under custody, various things we give and certificates. So there are a lot of certificates we do along with the main audit report. Now, most of the times we prepare a certificate which is already pre-prepared, we just sign it. In fact, sometimes we feel that okay, there is definitely where there is no way I can comment on the certificate because it is generated by the system. So in today's session, I am going to give an overview which are all the areas where we can have working papers to this, which are all the areas where we can have working papers to various aspects what we are seeing here, and which are the areas where one has to physically take care at the branch itself. So when I say how to conduct branch audit from home, it doesn't mean that 100% we are doing from home. At least in my personal view, 70% is being conducted remotely, rest is conducted sitting at the branch. So what are the things which we conduct remotely and what we will do at the branch? Now, the things which we have to know is the responsibility of the auditor is to say that the financial statements are true and fair and free from material misstatements, right? And we have responsibility of all those things which we are signing. As we are signing, we have risks. Audit risk is anyhow there. The amount, the something not getting detected by the audit, that risk exists. But how do you certify that the material, the financial statements are free from materiality? And the control risk. Now today, if I am saying that the bank branch audit is being done by home, now when the branches today, if you have noticed, it is all the data processing on the cloud. So sitting in the cloud, the data is getting processed. You really don't know where data exists. If today we have to ask, you are going to a bank branch and doing the audit, what is that you are doing? Does the data residing there? No, data is there in central server. Are you doing the customers audit? Today, you know, anywhere banking. I am a customer here in Gandhi Bazaar. I can go to Malleshwaram and draw the money or deposit the thing. Okay, am I doing the audit of these borrowers who is sanctioned by the branch? You know, the branch sanctioning powers are very limited unless it is the scale of that branch manager, where he is in the category of AGM and GM, where those scales they process. Most of the loans are sanctioned and approved at the head office and the files come here for operational thing. Now, technically, if you see that you are doing an audit of a transaction which have been conducted by someone, data is residing by someone, and more importantly, the most of the powers of the branch manager is operational. And if you have to ask, do you know your customers? You know, branches have these rotations. Branch managers, mean if you walk into the branch and say, I am your customer, is like, okay, you have to go and introduce yourself. Branch managers do not know that who their customers are. Definitely, they only know the large portfolio of the customers. Now, I am not saying that it is not making the bank branch audit redundant, but especially if you look at the balance sheet of that branch, so you are now auditing the assets and liabilities of the balance sheet of that branch, which the branch saying that okay, these assets and liabilities belongs to me. That is what we are auditing. And the time constraint is always there. Now, owing to COVID, would the constraint be relaxed? I don't know. Once everything is done, the branches would have this challenge of consolidation and reporting, because we are already about to hit May, and with the last day of April. So, if the lockdown is out after say a week, 10 days, 15 days, whenever it is, the branches would also be under pressure that okay, complete it at the earliest and let's give the consolidation, publish the results, because SEBI also has relaxed some publishing of the results. Now, if we have to do all this, what is the mitigation we have? The mitigation we have is technology driven audit procedures. It's a technology driven audit procedures. We can upskill ourselves in terms of doing audits remotely and doing a walkthrough of the reports, and we can focus on the exception reports which are generated by the branch. We can use the IT system of the branch. Whatever the working papers we need, system can generate the working papers and we can use. Savior, or the required minimum expected skill which is there, is on Excel. A simple Excel tool which will help in doing a detection, reporting, and various things. There was a time when we say bank branch audit means the MOC. MOC means NPA classification. But today we know most of the NPAs are automated system driven. MOCs seldom comes for NPA classification. Does it mean that okay, MOCs would not be there? Of course there would be. There's the classification errors that have happened, the interest application errors that have happened, various things MOCs could be passed other than the NPA classifications, right? So we will look at all those aspects also. Now, couple of myths which we have is everything the bank is system driven. So nothing much you can check. System audit happened. All the data is integrated in CBS. There is no scope for errors. There are sufficient controls which are there. Your risk, you're safe. You can sign it, right? System is there, it will take care. I agree with all the points. System driven, integrated with the CBS system audit there, scope for errors is not there. And the best controls in today finance, any company which you can think of is the bank. Even if we implement 10% of the controls which exist in a bank branch in any of our clients, it would be a superb controlled environment, right? But if we have to see, still there is a role for humans. The loan sanction letter which is issued, still most of the time it is not automated. All that the branch managers do, take a word report of the previously issued loan ticket, issue it back, change terms and conditions. Sometimes you don't even see that there are certain terms are valid to that kind of loan. And though it is integrated with CBS, not everything is in CBS. Like your locker rent is outside CBS, it's a separate software. If you see the bank guarantees LCs are issued, there is a separate software which they use and they post a contra entries, right? So there are various other things in the CBS which are not there in the CBS, which is handled outside. Then the very much important thing is systems are intelligent, but they're dumb. They're intelligently dumb. If you feed the system something to work as calculate interest at 5%, it's just going to do it. So if I do something wrong, it is going to do it, right? So the audit should focus on areas wherever the human intervention is. So wherever the human intervention is there in the system, check those areas and at least you will get a reasonable assurance that it is taken care. So the assurance which we are giving in the branch, we say that okay, the financial statements are free from material statements. All my audit procedures is according to ICAI and everything shows a true and fair affairs of the branch. The assessment I have made On risk of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, I have made an assessment, I'm making an assertion. The transactions are conducted within the branch powers. Branch prepares on a quarterly basis various reports and on a weekly basis submissions to the RBI and others. All those returns which are being submitted time to time are adequate and are in agreement with the books of accounts, and I have obtained the necessary information and explanation required for the bank branch audit. Lastly, I understood the IT environment which is deployed and I have a confidence over the IT environment. This is the assurance which we are giving. So, if we have to give that assurance, how do we take care that this is safe? So, what should be our audit workflow? Our audit workflow should be segregated into physical versus system. Wherever it is physical, that one resource, two resource who is there at the branch would be doing it. Whatever is the system, the resource which is offline can do it. Now, these are the various things which I have listed, which are physical and something which are through system. Whatever I have written on physical, if you have to verify, like if you want to verify a cash book, one has to physically be there in the branch. There are various registers. The host of the register the branch maintains: cash register, stock register, inspection, locker register, fixed assets, acknowledgement of debt. The whole of registers these are maintained. This material is any would be shared. The couple of slides I would skip it. I intend to bring everything to your attention so that okay, you are aware, you have a big picture, and from the big picture you carve out the chunk which you will be doing offline. So today I will only be focusing on what you would be doing offline. Now, request you to make you if you have pen and paper, make notes of various things which are coming up so that you can chalk out and do the planning. And especially you would be giving some of your tasks to your junior an article to do it, so at least you can do your planning. Now there are various softwares they have used. I said LCBG, locker rent, TDS filing, GST filing, asset management, so net banking, ATM integration. There are various softwares. Most important is CBS. Anything to do with CBS, anything to do with CBS can be done remotely. There are two ways of doing remotely. If the branch can allow you to white label your IP and give an access auditor login, option one. If they don't, considering the security risk and controls, the person who is there in the branch, all that he have to do is press couple of the buttons. I will show you what are they. Generate reports and share it. Generate report and share that, right? So how do we do that? Now, we need to understand the software first. So someone who is there either remotely connecting or logging, sitting in the branch and accessing the bank branch system and taking it. And I'm pretty much sure when you go to the branch, you should carry your system. Instead of accessing on the bank branch, you should carry your system. And wherever needed, you just access the branch, the software. Now, once I'm accessing the branch software, how do I take the data? There are two ways of taking the data. Branch in one system, they allow you to copy the data in a pen drive and give. Sometimes the pen drive is disabled. The reports can be pulled down to a folder, a local folder. The branch manager can share those files to you. Now, if someone sometimes poses a question that the branch manager is not sharing the data. See, if you do not have the data, you definitely can, your audit is curtailed. If you cannot take any working papers, you don't even see the loan accounts, you apply your audit analytics, and you cannot do the process, definitely you cannot give any of the assurance, and you have to say necessary information has not been obtained in conducting the audit. So it is very much important whatever you are seeing, you would be able to have an access of the data. Trust me, to the last line of the voucher, you will have an access to the voucher data, and you should put your foot down and say that I need to see that line item or the voucher, and only then you would be able to do the assertions in your audit report. I have given some of the popularly used menus in Finacle and FlexCube. So whether you are operating remotely or sitting in the branch, how do you do it? Let's take the example of FlexCube now or Finacle both. So what I have covered is navigation of the screens, the menus which are there, and the reports. You first need to know how to generate a report. Like most of us are aware of Tally as an accounting software. Whenever a data comes, you press that button B, balance sheet comes in, you press and enter, drill down to the ledger, to the voucher, right? That's how it moves in. Banks as a software, it doesn't happen that way. It's like that drill down do not happen there. So you need to know how to access what report, especially a customer account. When I say customer, it's a borrower account, OCC account, term loan account, then the depositor's deposit account, some of the SB accounts, expenditure ledgers. The navigation of each of this is different. It is not straightforward. Generating reports, like in Tally, you will get a list of current assets. You press a button, list of debtors. So I should be able to see a list. I should also be able to see any one inside. And when you get into a customer account, you do customer account or a creditor account, you press Alt B and try to see outstanding line items. Likewise, if you have like sundry assets, right? One of the ask in LFAR, have you verified the sundry assets? So if you have to verify the sundry assets and how age of it, you should be able to see the underlying line items of those sundry assets, right? So the loan balancing report, and the account wise overdue report are two important reports which are required for your audits. Now, if you have to see the loan balancing report, 31st March 2020, so much is my loans. How do I know that who are the borrowers? What is the closing balance? Tying up of that. Sometimes when you don't know, or most times when you don't know, how do you know is by asking. You can always say that, see, I don't know, I need this. And the purpose of the audit per se is asking questions, getting an answer, satisfying yourself. What I have shown you is not an conclusive list. It is a indicative or mostly used report. Now, in the FlexCube, what I've given is in the FlexCube, you can press this LN707. The report name is LN707. You enter LN707. So you have a report generation module. You go to that module, you generate, which is their report generating. So there you have to give a code. Like you give a code, the respective report comes up. You give a code, the respective report comes up. So whatever you are seeing on the screen are various codes against which you get various reports. Let me just show you how one LN707 would look like. Yeah, here is one LN707 which is downloaded from the advanced module, which is a balancing report as on some date, various information which is there. Hope the screen, the items on the screen are visible. Yeah, so this is how a report would get generated. Now whenever you initiate the reports, whenever you initiate these reports, the reports can generate into any of the following format. Most of the times it comes as a HTML file. Most of the times. Sometimes it gets generated as a PDF. Sometimes it downloads as a zip file with the name as .zz. Sometimes as a .txt. Very rarely, unlikely, .csv or an Excel. Any of these 5 formats the reports come in. HTML, PDF, .zz, a CSV file or an Excel file. Right? Now you have to figure out how do we do that for audit. So I have given various accounts, various types of reports. How do we do it in FlexCube? And very importantly, FlexCube, what you have seen is the native reports. We call this as native reports. Those who are well versed with SAP, there is something called Z report where we customize. Those who are using Tally, there is something called TDL. We add on to the existing Tally software to generate new kind of reports. Likewise, even the bank CBS have a different software which is called business object reports. BO, we very popularly called as BO reports. While doing your bank branch audit, you will get a closing circular, and likewise a circular will go to the branch manager saying that okay, this is the closing circular. In that circular, these are the certificates which the auditor should sign. The source of the certificate, there would be underlying code. There would be an underlying code using which the branch manager generates the certificate. All that someone has to ask, can you give me that certificate, or can you give me the workings of that certificate? And if you have been a regular, if you are doing concurrent audits of the branch, then you would definitely be aware of these codes. You yourself can enter it. You yourself can enter it, and you can generate it. And I also get most of the times whenever a question is asked, the branch manager says, okay, I don't know. Right? Now, it could be two reasons. He genuinely do not know, or he just want to escape from it. But you can always say that, okay, why don't you escalate it to the IT division, IT cell of the region, let them generate the report and give. So believe me, every certificate you will have an underlying values that come up. So likewise, these are the very important business object reports. These are very important business object reports. One should be using it. So few important screens for navigations I have given, where you want to extract a party ledger, a depositor ledger, any of these ledgers you want to extract, I have given it. Now, in case of Finacle, in FlexCube, you have some LN604, TD021, LN M10, LN522. You have names like this in FlexCube. But when it comes to Finacle, Finacle has a different navigation code. So each software builds their own thing. So I have also given the screenshots for Finacle. Now, how do I use these reports? How do I consume these reports? Anyone who is doing the bank branch audit, a must and essential Excel formula they should know is importing of data from a CSV into an Excel, formatting the data, applying some conditional formatting, doing some pivots, applying some if formulas, concatenations, building a graph, how to do a sum if and VLOOKUP. These are the formula one should definitely know. Without knowing these formulas, you cannot do the bank branch audit at all. You would end up relying some certificate coming, taking that as working paper with a no choice or a less choice, you will be signing it. But if you have this formula, definitely you can do a pretty good job on building the exceptions, carving out the exceptions. So I have to walk you through all these formulas, how to do it. If you have a pen and paper, make note of it. If you have an Excel, you can just open your previous working papers and just try to do it yourself. I'll walk it through slow while I'm doing it. First, converting a text data into an Excel file. So the banking software will generate the data into Excel text PDF. If you have an Excel, well and good, but only 1% of the time you will get the working data into an Excel file. But mostly you will get into a text files. And if you get the data in a PDF, believe me, there are a lot of online tools which will convert PDF into an Excel file or a text file. One of the free way and say you should try using small PDF. You just Google small PDF, you can go to online, it comes, load a PDF file into it, say what should be output, it will convert and give it to you. There are many online PDF converters which you can use it. So how do I do it? take the text file dump into an Excel. Select the entire data into text. How do I do? Control A. Then copy that. Come to the first cell, A1. Press Control V. Then select whole column A. Go to the data tab. Click on text to columns. The text to columns, just click on that. Shortcut for that is Alt DE. It gives a wizard. It will give a window asking, do you want to do a fixed width or delimiting? You can do your adjustment you want to do. Wherever you feel it is a date, select the date and eliminate unless useless data and create that. Now let us just do of it. Whatever I have said, let us just do a demo of it. So here is one of the file which I said LN7. I just did Control A, Control C, copied, and I am just coming to a new workbook. I have come to the first A1. I pressed Control V. Full data has come. Full data has, but I do not know correctness of this data. There is a data, but I do not know correctness of the data. So whenever you are working with the data, it is necessary the naming. Let me say I save this file first. I save this file first saying loan statement analysis in my respective folder. I am just saying in this presentation of KCA, I'm just saving that, okay, as loan statement analysis, right? Now, first and foremost thing, do not create anything as new book, new workbook, very bad habit. Then inside when you open, you will find sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, someone say refer to sheet 6, that's also a pretty bad habit. Always name it, because peer review happens 4 years later. 4 years later when someone is coming asking you to open your working file, they open your MOC, they open your audit report, MOC says nil, NPA additions nil. I'll ask, okay, what is your working paper to say that you have said, okay, there are no new NPAs? Loan or you have certified a Basel II certificate. The classification between a residential real estate to commercial real estate might be an error, but what is the test you have done to say that there is no MOC to the classification, right? So you need to have your working papers. So when the data is now copied into this, I first change my sheet name. I change my sheet name, Alt OHR, or just right click and change the sheet name, rename the sheet. To the extent possible, do not use the mouse and key mouse. Try using shortcut, so it will be pretty fast. I say LN707 dump. I say LN707 dump. Why do I say that? During the course, something goes wrong. I can come back. I just make a copy of it. I make a copy of it and I say this LN707 extract. Extract. I have extracted the data. Now, first and foremost thing, how do I said this which is there in column A. In the formula I said split the data we have copied into A1. Now select text to columns, right? So we come back the loan analysis. In your data you can find this text to columns. You can just click that, or shortcut is Alt DE, the data text to columns. You just apply that. Now you get a delimited and a fixed width. If your data is a CSV, comma separated, you know there is a delimiter, you use a delimiter. Most probably you do not know what is a delimiter. You can apply a fixed width. Apply fixed width and just hit this next button. Now, whatever the you are seeing in this, whatever the lines which you are seeing here in this. I'm just zooming it. You can see some lines coming up. All right. So whatever the lines which you are seeing here, these indicate these are the columns in the Excel. These are the columns in the Excel. How your output you want to be in the columns. So I want my product here. This line I am moving it here. Now this is my product code. I'm my product code here. Right. I'm bringing the product code here. So whenever you see a number, numbers are always right aligned. Numbers are always right aligned. Text is always left aligned. Text is always left. So I am deleting this column. You may put a line here, but as you go down, some data might come here. So it's always better to do not give a narrow name, right? So then I come here to my right side, December name. So there is one date. I can just comfortably give that, and I am giving one column date here and removing this column. So you need to apply some small common sense to choose or segregate data into various columns, right? I am putting one right here and say finish, right? So let me minimize. Now the data has into various columns, right? So once when you get into columns, just auto fit, Alt O C A, you adjust it so that you can visually see how the data is coming. This data, now if you see it, the name of the product is this, name of the customer has gone down. I have to get the name of customer one level above. I need to push the customer name one level above. So I said shift the cells up. Okay, customer level names have come in the same line. Opening date is fine, loan open date, and the LOP date or last acknowledgement of dues debt date is given, and rate of interest is coming. Liability, if you see, it went up one line above. Even here you can say delete one cell up, move one cell up. The moment you moved one cell up, you notice that everything has come in one line. Now while we are accessing this, it is also important that we need to know what is my product code, product master. So I have kept the product masters in one moment. There is the product. Yeah. So I also wanted to check what is the, against which product, what is the code. This is the product code, this is the product name, because it might be difficult to understand this product code. It has more mode. So I just brought the data it in one place. This is my product code, right? Now the next thing which I have said, after dividing the text to the columns using delimiter, so now adjust the date, eliminate useless data. So eliminate useless data. So very important step is make this data into readable or understandable. So right now let me just get the headers correct. Let me get the headers correct. So this is serial number, this is old account, this is new account, this is customer code and name. Now both are merged. I cannot get it. We will find a way to get it, don't worry. So I am right now saying it as customer name. Then this is loan open date. This is AOD date. This is rate of interest. This is your liability. Now just delete your unwanted data. Now this is the data. Whenever you are using large set of data, always freeze the headers. Freezing the headers, Alt WFF. Right, let me just open Notepad, and wherever I am giving you some shortcuts, let me Alt W freeze and freeze spans. So this is for freeze. Right, I'll keep writing the formulas, so where whatever I am using it, and the formula I have used to delete the cells is to delete cell is Alt E D and insert. You can definitely use mouse, and those who want to use shortcut, they can use this. And text to columns, we have used Alt E. These are the formulas we have so far. All right. So now apply the filter. Apply the filter, right? So to apply the filter, the formula we use is Alt D F. So first let us remove unwanted data. How do I remove unwanted data where the data is? What you can do is go to the serial number. Wherever the numbers are not there, is blanks. These are definitely unwanted. These are definitely unwanted. And just do a page down to cross verify yourself that yes, okay, is it not unwanted. Selecting it, just select it, and to delete the formula I have said is Alt ED, and it says since it is filtered in a table, it says deleting entire row. I said okay, go ahead and do it. Now it has done it. So now if you see it, predominantly some clarity is there in what I am seeing it. But if I see this, the account number is not visible. I am making this as a number. This is a number, and I don't need any comma style or anything. So you can just put a number as such, right? So you also have shortcuts to use it. Percentage, Alt 3, currency, Alt 5 percentage. You can use the shortcuts or whatever you are seeing here, or press Control 1 directly to reach format cells. So to format cell, you can use Control plus 1, right? You use that and you apply the format to all the cells. So apply format is pay special, which is pay special is Alt Control C plus Alt E S. Then we always see as values, this is what we use, but you can also copy the format and paste it. So the data has come into this. Now I just need to change this old account number, new account number. Now while doing this, I also missed out the product, right? The product is not there. So what is my product code? Like if you see in the dump, the product code is 601. All right. Now when I come here, the product code is 603. So somewhere the product code is somewhere in between the loan. Now if you notice, the first 4 digits is your branch code, and I can just put left of this and give 4 digits, and I'm just trying to copy paste and give it here, and just you drop down and see it is giving your branch code and where it has opened and other things. So just to cross verify, okay, let's look at 6626. Now this is some old thing, and yeah, one other thing you have to definitely be very careful is there is lot of merging of the branches that have happened. Loans from one account would have to come to another branch, not just merging of the branch, one bank and two banks got merged. You know, last year lot of merger happened. So your opening balance audit would be there, that you have to be very careful. So the first four digits are the branch code. The next three digits are the bank code. The next three digits are the bank code. How do I get that? Is equal to mid of this. I want to get the middle number. So is equal to mid of this, comma 3. So sorry, not comma, the it is starting after four digits, comma, from the fifth digit I need the three digits, right? I give that and copy and paste it. So I apply a mid function to get all the data. Very importantly, Excel 2016 onwards, Excel 2016 onwards, you have the another, you have the another thing for for a flash fill. You have something called flash fill. You should try using this for various things, which is control plus E. Control plus E. Now what does this do? All that I do is, instead of applying this mid or whatever, I have this data. I only want the exactly 601. All right. So you know that it is somewhere here. You enter this and press Control E. You enter that and press Control E. I didn't do anything. It did a flash fill. It did a flash fill to the whole data. Can you see automatically it brought 603 here? It brought a 603 here. Now, just to give you how flash fill works, I'm just copying a small set of data only for your explanation. I'm just coming to a blank sheet. Now here is the data. So old name and the new name. I want to get a proper cleaning of the data. So I don't want the initial flash. I just give this and press Control E. Can you see it has completely cleared everything? It has completely cleared everything. Sorry. So now there is, okay, it also has a machine learning. Now there is something called new n has come. So I want to train the system saying that it is not new n, it is Nagaraj n, and when I enter that, it also corrects if it has made any error. From that point it will incrementally correct and move further. Now the another advantage of it, you want to get only the first name, which is Narayana Swami, right? So you want to get only the first name in this. You want to guess first name in this. You only type Narayana and press Control E. Now can you see automatically the last portion missed out? And here it came Srinivasa Sundararajan. You just say that no, you did a mistake, delete this and press enter. Can you see automatically the down data? Once you do that and they select up to this and give control, select from here and give Control E. Sorry, yeah, it will automatically remove the other data. Whatever which has done, it has removed the other data. Now sometimes you want a shortcuts of it, like I want NSK. I want this as NSK. Now you are using during there is a large set of data which is dumped in the bank branch. Flashfill is the best tool to clear and format the data. Press Control E. Now can you see it has come only a simple name, and you see that there is an error here. You see that there is an error here. You want it as SS only. You want it as SS only. You enter it. You enter that. Automatically the below names also gets changed. Now the advantage of the flash fill, it understands what you are doing and it does it automatically. It does it automatically, right? So this is the advantage of using the flash fill. So I am coming back here. I got all the product codes, but what I want is my product name. I want my product name, right? So how do I get my product name? Here is the, I brought some product list. Yeah. Now can you see sheet 3 is something wrong? I should say product master. Product master, and this is my product data. Just select this data, and you give a name to this. On your left side you can just see where you are seeing A1. I am saying this is product master. All right, so I am saying this as my product master. Now in my here I am using a function called VLOOKUP. Most of you are aware VLOOKUP. I am selecting this comma. Generally we go to that sheet and give it. Instead of that, just press F3. It will say which is the product list you have created. It will come. Just say comma 2. It is data is there in second column and give 0. You got your product master automatically, right? So you have your product master with you, everything you have, and you have dates. You have the dates when the loan has been sanctioned, and what is the acknowledgement date, everything, date of interest, liability. You have all the data with you, right? So now from your raw data, which was the file which you saw in this fashion, a file which you saw in this fashion, you now got into a file where you can make some sense of it. So what is the necessary thing? You know this Excel, and I will explain conditional formatting in a while. So you need to know the conditional formatting. You also now need to know a pivot tables for classification. An if formula, a VLOOKUP is what we need to know. I am going to explain all this with this sheet itself. Let's first understand what type of branch this is. So select whole data and apply a pivot. Select whole data and apply a pivot. So in our formula list, let me say how to apply a pivot. To apply a pivot, press Alt D P. You can go to inside data and apply pivot also. Just give next and just do a data entry. You got it. You can change the sheet name to LN707 pivot. You got the data into a pivot. Now give your product name, and give your the liability, how much liability is there. Just give it. Data comes it. All that you do is go and sort largest to smallest, put the data in your comma style. So you will clearly know, okay, this is a 27 crore, this is a 27 crore portfolio, and housing finance has 12 crores. So you know how to check. Now you may ask a question for my sampling, which are all the files I have to check. So you can also see when this loan has been given, the loan sanctioned date, sanctioned in this year, sanctioned in the earlier years. So you can, all that you can do in your loan extract. So this is the data. I'm just inserting them as one, so that okay, after this is my analysis. I will say when sanctioned. You can say when sanctioned. Okay, this is a pretty old data. So the loan account opened is 2017 and before, March 17 before. So what you do is you can just create an assumptions list, and the assumptions list is you give a date. You say sanction 1st April 2016 as old, and 1st April 2017 you can say 1st April 2017 as new, 1st April 2016 as old, right? So you come here is equal to VLOOKUP your open date, and you come to the assumption list. This is the thing, right? So now I have to, they are as old as 97 also. Just apply, we look up to this date and my sanction date to, just do not give exact match, give a nearest match. Okay, let me see why there is an error coming. And the best thing, whenever you are struck, use a sanction period. You can just say year of it, just select the year, comma, y. Okay, we just need year, yeah. So you got the year, right? So you can just apply the year when this has been sanctioned, right? Now, all that you want to do is you want to get a loan sanction during your period for audit. So 2017 and 2016, this is only what you want for audit. So April 16, you say, okay, these are your new, rest of the loans are your old, right? Or leaving this, you want to select everything as your old date. You can just say as old and you can just give it. Now in your pivot, you can choose the data, come to the data range and just expand. So instead of column J, take it to your column L. Alright. So now in your pivot, you got the loan sanctioned period, whether it is how much is the new loan, how much is old loan. During the year under your audit, you can just apply largest to smallest. Though it is a housing finance branch, but during the year under audit, you can see that okay, there are education loans which have been sanctioned, and all the crop loans which are there are also sanctioned during the period under the audit. So with this, you can see that okay, what should be your item for you to check, which are the loans you want to check. You can use a pivot. You can apply a pivot and do a verification of this. You also want to see the customer list, you can just drop down and below this you can automatically see the customer list, and within the data I can just say largest to large. Okay, these are the customers who have been sanctioned loan during the period. Right click, you can just click on collapse all. So now you have control of all the data. So in a one view, you now got it. So someone who is sitting back in the office, in the home, they can do all churn out this data and give it to the people at the thing. Check for these documents. If you want to, if you have a doubt of an NPA, say in this extract, you want to see there's lot of loans. You only want to pick an exceptions. You can do a conditional formatting. You can highlight the cells based on various data. I can just give a small icon set saying the largest to the thing. So it says okay, there are something which there is a highest, there is a the arrow indicates this is at an average, there is smallest, everything. So you can also do just a drop down saying that okay, why some interest rates are zero and this. You can say okay, these are the things I want to check, why these interest rates are there as zero. Maybe system has made an error 0.01%. Are they staff, are they this, is it my own employees where they have given, yeah, can you see these are the staff, and this is Prime Minister Awas Rozgar Yojana. So there are various things, that is why the interest rates are this. So you can easily check which are the things you would want to see it. You can apply a pivot, you can apply conditional formatting and filters. You can do all this and you can build your working papers. So the person who is sitting in the working from home, all that you are doing is you are sharing this dump and he is churning all the data, feeding you back with all the necessary information which is required for the audit, So that is where I said these are the basic formula one needs to know. Pivot, if, okay, sum if and VLOOKUP we have seen. I will explain you one simple which is a if formula. So that's also pretty simple. It is required for various things. So let's come to this data and let us say an if formula. Okay, so an if formula is whether, okay, this old or sanction, we just used a filter and did it. We can just do an if condition. So we want to see if a loan sanction, this is the data which is there. What we have to select is from 1st April 2016. So you say 31st March 2016, right? 31/3/2016. Now, is this date greater than 31st March 2016? The answer is no. It is saying false, right? So all that you do is use an if formula. If this is greater than, I'm just freezing the cell March 2002. If this is greater than 2, then if it is false, it is an old loan. If it is not false, you can say it as a new loan, right? If it is false, it is a old loan. No, it is greater, then it is a new loan, right? So this is the formal condition. Now, yeah. So let's come back to our pivot. We can see it is new as 658 and 2122. I'm just doing a refresh of it. It is converting old loan and new loan, and same 658 and 2122. So we are seeing the data in the way we want automatically. So if formula is also very helpful and very much required for people who are doing the work back in the office. So predominantly these are the Excel formula one needs to know. One needs to be aware of this Excel formula. Now, how do I make use of this Excel formula? So yes, I got that. Okay, these are all the formulas. How do I do it? The advantage of Excel formula is to build your branch profile in snapshot in one view. You get a complete glimpse of from the LN707. We have seen that the branch has so much portfolio. These are the new advances. So what else can be done by the staff who is sitting in the office? So we prepare a snapshot or the entire working paper for the branch. So how do we do it? We do with the financial statements. They can do a opening balance verification, take the trial balance closing. If there is a merger of the branches on a cutoff date, ideally the way the branches do the posting is they incorporate the merged branch financials on 1st April so that the 31st March and 1st April opening balances are intact. So just take the hard copy of the statements, take the soft copy of the data and give to the staff. What they do, they take closing TV March 19, open TV April 19, apply a simple VLOOKUP and verify whether either from that data to this data or this data to that data and see whether it is matching or not. They can do grouping of the general ledgers. I have said there would be lot of BO reports. Where financial statements with schedules, subschedules, GL codes. And how they can do is they can create a T-shaped financial statements. I would recommend to prepare a T-shaped because we have been using T-shaped financial statements from quite a long period and we understand this data. So prepare a T-shaped financial statements, map all the schedules, subschedules, and do a ratio analysis in a simple Excel and do it. Let me show you how we can do a T-shaped financial statements and map it. Here is the financial statements, right? So this is the income and expenditure which has come, which would have come given to you in a PDF file. Just convert this, this, though it is what we understand everything, just convert into a simple T-shape saying that, okay, this is my P&L account. So much is my income this year and previous year, expenditure current year and previous year. Rather than seeing all it, we get everything in a glimpse. Likewise, prepare a balance sheet in T-shape. Just say, here is my balance sheet. So much is cash balance, so much is bank balance, advances. So you get everything in one glimpse. And always use comma style. Have the data in a comma style. It is easy to know. Make sure everything in the same format, either with paise or without paise, so that you can get everything in one view. What do I do? Advantage of it, okay, people who are doing audit in the back end, they know, okay, this, they can give an instruction to the person who is sitting there. Okay, here is what you check the call, the thing, here is the advances, just send me the advances register. Start making a detail. So this is the abstract, you will get it. Make it into sub-schedule wise. Expenditure 1, expenditure 2, all this make it into a sub-schedule wise and link the data. Let me show you how a linked data would look like. Okay, just before that, I just want to see everyone, everything is visible and my screen, Excel files are visible. Is everything visible, right?
Yes, sir. You can go ahead. No problem.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So just prepare the financials in this manner so that you have the entire data linked, right? Yeah. So all the items, both income and expenditure, which you are seeing a T-shaped, you should have your subschedules where you will be able to track the data. You will be able to track the data. Just make sure this income, whatever I am seeing 225, 185, 566 is matching with whatever I am saying 225, 188, 56. It is matching, right? So how do I get it? Okay, this is what various types of incomes they have. This is what various types of income they have. Just map it, link it, like how we do in Schedule 3 financials. So once you do it, you now know what is that you have to audit. What is that you have to audit? Just do everything, link the data. Once you do a linking of the data, it is pretty easy and straightforward for people to actually go over each one of the line item. Okay, there is whenever you have an external links, just make sure that you disable those links. Otherwise, the size of the file would go a little heavy. So yeah. So bring all the data in one place. Then start verifying your expenditures. So person who is there in the backend, allow them to do a data verification. How do we do the data verification? Get all the things in a graph. Get all the things in a graph. In fact, if you can get your data in a columnar way, let me show you a data in the columnar way. Right. So here is the data. Here is the data of the trial balance which is extracted month over month. This trial balance which is extracted month over month can be just applying a simple VLOOKUP formula. You can make it into a monthly. Like if you notice this is automatically which has come on a monthly basis, and the data is grouped. Like in one go, I know what is my income and expenditure, and I have converted the data into a columnar. So I know whether the expenditure have they considered month on month, is it there or not. So you can churn the data, into columnar, and you can also group and ungroup. So to group and ungroup, so the formula which you have to use for group and ungroup is alt plus the right arrow key. Right. So for example, like this is the data which is there. Let's say this is the data which is there, and I'm just pasting it here for the ease of understanding. I'm pasting the data here. So there's a too much of data. If I have to see in one go, it takes lot of time. So I want to make sure that I can see it in one go. And how do I do it? Select this cells, select whatever the cells which you are using. You press Alt Shift right arrow key. It's not Alt right arrow key, sorry. Alt plus Shift plus right arrow key, right? Alt Shift right arrow key. It says group. You say OK. By default, the grouping will come at the below. By default, if you notice, the grouping comes below. We want the grouping to the top. All that you have to do is go to the data bar. In the data bar, if you see, there is something called group and ungroup. There is something called group and ungroup. Click on this, below the bottom line. Say the summary below the details. Uncheck the summary below the details. Just uncheck that. So you will automatically see the summary onto the top. So now there is interest on deposits. So this is Alt Shift right arrow key. And you know Excel has a powerful thing. You can just select this and press F4. It will repeat the previous command, right? So now the advantage of you doing this, you would notice that the huge set of data in one go, got consolidated. I am seeing in a consolidated way. Now here, assuming I want to see it at level 3 is line detail, level 2 is consolidated, level 1 I click on the right side of the screen. You are able to see 1, 2, 3. The moment I click 1, it has come to the first level, income and expenditure. I click on 2, then it expands into one level. So we can just do the same thing, and let us see here. Let's say the predominant thing is interest. So is my interest cost consistent or not is what we have to see. Now here in this case interest cost is not consistent, but the way here they are recognizing on a quarterly basis. Like if you see end of the quarters is where the interest is getting recognized. When it comes to income, so everyone has their policy, this is how they are doing it. And look at the other major expenditure, salary. Now at least salary should be consistent, right? Now is it consistent, not consistent? How do I do it? In a one glance, if I have to do it, all that you will do is take the data, and let me give a simple this. Let's go to a new sheet. I'm giving it as graph. So, okay, let us not get all this. I'll show you one simple thing. You can just try. Use this, press F5 in the special, select only visible cells. Select only visible cells. You can just copy the visible cells and come and paste it here. I don't want any of the subschedules or other things coming up. So here, and what is the header for this? Let me just get the header for this also. So header for this is this. Just when you copy, it is copying the inside data also. We are only getting the visible cells. So copy the visible cells and put it here. Give this name as graph, right? So in one go, you want to eliminate the anomaly. So YTD data is here also, and here let me move the YTD data to the down. I don't need, right? So we are doing an audit of expenditure, correct? Now all that you have to do is, let me just okay. So I'll also show you one advantage of VLOOKUP here. Let me give my staff expenditure. Okay, is equal to VLOOKUP this in my whole of the data, comma 2, comma 0. Advantage of unknowing errors in VLOOKUP. Even though I'm not freezing the data, I will be getting some numbers. Even though I'm not freezing the data, I am getting some numbers. Is this the numbers which I wanted? If you notice, absolutely this is the data which I'm getting it. 40 lakhs is the expenditure here. The 40 lakhs is the expenditure which is coming up, because unknowingly I did not freeze, the data is moving, but exactly I need the second column, it is coming and taking care. So but in the interest of time, I'm not going to correct it and explain the things. So all that I do here, instead of typing a name in my data list, I use a conditional validation. Okay, data list, data validation. The formula you will use is alt plus D plus L. So all that you will do is you will give a list. You will say a list from here to here. Okay. So now if you see, I select the first one, interest on deposits. Exactly whatever I see interest on deposits, that's coming there, right? So this is the expenditure and this is the data, right? Now the advantage of graph. Okay, let me hide this data, we don't need it, and let me just delete this columns, right? So this is the expense name. Go to insert and a recommended chart. it will by default give you a graph. Just take this graph, bring the graph here, and this I would recommend use this graph especially on advance balances and deposit balances. Take the advances and deposit balance 10 days before March 20, 10 days after March 20. Just see a trend analysis. Is there any window dressing on the quarter ends? Is there any window dressing on the quarter ends? Now to this data, to this data chart, I want to give the data table also. You can just select and give the data table if you want to. Right. So remove the grid lines. Now the person who is there in the back end, he can quickly say, okay, here interest on deposit, they are recognizing on the quarter ends. But suddenly there is a huge thing coming up in the month of March. Why is this a variation? Right? You can definitely ask. If you notice, when I see this plain data, when I see a plain data on the top, a plain data which I am seeing on the top, I am not getting any much understanding. There is 32, 38, 3, 25. I am not getting a much understanding. But the moment I see this graph, I get that, okay, there is some variation. Ideally, it should be flat. It is not. My admin expenditure. Yeah, admin expenditure is in this month suddenly went up. Just see why it has went up. Like pick whatever audit fees, there is a provision which needs to be done. Okay, there is, so you can see that there is a lot of provisions which are happening only on the quarter ends, right? Let's say salary. Now salary graph is constant, but August it zoomed up. Maybe gratuity or provision which has come up. Just look at it. Now this gives you an indication that is it a right expenditure or not. Now the graph ideally should have been, expenditure graph should have been straight. Suddenly the expenditure went up in this. Maybe here something would have come up in inspection or AGM, whatever. So you can get a glimpse that something is, when something is wrong, you will get an idea when you use the graphs. So the person who is back in the office, who has to do these kind of checks, back at home, someone who is there have to do this kind of checks and verify the incomes and expenditures. They have to verify both the incomes and expenditure. Hope this is clear. So let's move to the other aspects. Let us move to the other aspects of the various things. Yeah, I'll quickly jump on to, after income and expenditure, asset side, what needs to be done. Now, the cash verification definitely has to be done physically. We definitely cannot do something manually. Now, under this COVID, the person who is there in the branch, he definitely do not want to check, count everything and get himself exposed into risk. All that he can do is, in the example which you have seen, there is the balance sheet has 15 lakhs cash. I can't count 15 lakhs cash. All that one can do is just go randomly, pick some cash counter notes, put it into a cover, just staple it. You don't know how much you have taken, the cashier doesn't know. Let the cashier count entire the cash, give him some number, open the cover, it will have some few thousand. Just match that, is it matching to the cash scroll or not. You can build your own audit checks. Give the cash register to the person in the office, person in the home. He can just put a graph trend. What is the cash balance expected? The cash balance expected is this, but he is seeing the cash scroll, the balances is moving up. He quickly gives a report in the LFR saying that the limit which is specified is this, it is exceeding whatever, more than whatever it is given. Bank balance, we do a verification, so a BRS is required. So scan the BRS copy or just take a photo of the bank statement, send the BRS working to someone here, saying here is the bank balance, just see whether it is matching or not. Security items, it needs to be a physical verification only, like security register. So person in the back, nothing can be done. So I'm only spending time on what we can be doing back in the office. something which needs to be done at the branch has to be done at the branch. But I just, as I said in the beginning, I brought both the things so that you can get a glimpse of the macro view, and you can identify whomsoever is good with the system, good with the Excel, whomsoever is good with the analysis, can be back here at home doing churning out all the information quickly and feeding the report to the person on the ground. These are all physical verification of the items. And let's come to the verification of advances. Yeah, one other thing in advances which is very much required, sorry, in the assets which is very much required is the sundries suspense long outstanding more than 90 days. So when you see the line items in the balance sheet, you can get the underlying line items, like how we get a debtor staging, creditor staging. Even the every line item in the balance sheet has a date analysis. You can get a date wise outstanding. You can see my mouse. You can, every line item which you are seeing, there is a date wise option. You should ask, I want to see a date wise option, and you can get the reports. Then moving on to advances. The advances, the requirement which is required is what are the physical documents you want to verify, which are the loans which have been sanctioned during the year, what documents you want to verify. Now the documents which have been to be verified, how do you know? So someone back here will say these are the list of the accounts which have been opened. Pick these are the they give a sample and give you that, okay, open, check this. So someone is like a feeder. So person who is there in the branch, he has been feeding with the instruction, check this, verify this, get this, give back the observations there. So backend team is what which is preparing the report. They are preparing your audit report, LFAR, annexures, working papers with the observations, putting the comments and giving back saying that, okay, here is this. You may use Office 365 Excel online or a Word online, or you can use a Google Drive where the data can be shared. There are Dropbox and other systems are also there to share the data. I would prefer using either OneDrive or G Drive. There is a check document verification checklist which has been given, shared by Sripriya, against which line item of which whatever is the type of loan, these are the documents which you can which you need to verify. You can just take a look at that pretty beautifully drafted document which is there. Then there is on the NPA and IRAC. I am not going to explain you anything on NPA and IRAC. The data is given in this for people to understand how to verify an NPA and IRAC has already been shared here. So that can be, you can use it for understanding what is a performing asset, non-performing asset, what are the conditions for non-performing, out of order means what, all that I have given it. So I would request users to use this and verify it. Coming on to LFAR, right? LFAR is divided into 4 parts. Most of the LFAR can be again filled back sitting at home, because there are questions which are asked, you have to answer. So the person who is there in the branch will ask some questions. So that is where it may, what may help you is if you put this, the LFAR checklist, either on OneDrive or a Google Doc. OneDrive or a Google Doc, both can simultaneously edit it. The person who is there in the office, the person who is there back at the branch, both of them have the system, both of them are working in the same file, they can edit it. In fact, the COVID has pushed us in learning how do we do work simultaneously. Now if I quickly explain various aspects of LFAR, we have cash and bank. The question which we have on the cash is the retention limit. Someone can just pull the scroll and give it. They can quickly verify what is the closing balance on various dates and just give an information. Investments not there in most of the cases. Advances is what is there. The question which we have on advances is credit appraisal, sanctioning and disbursement, monitoring, then LC. When it comes to credit appraisal, what is the documents I have submitted for borrowing a loan? You will be looking at the physical verification of the loan application file, CMA audited financial. Then the sanction and disbursement, there are conditions fulfilled. So check, though you got to check again, that is physical. Review, monitoring and supervision. So you have to ensure there is a periodical stock statement updated. If the loan amount exceeds certain amount, bank to bank has a specific policy. The large borrowers, there should be an independent chartered accountant verifying a stock statement and debtors, giving a comment on it. Then is that review monitoring is there or not? Then there is a specific question on guarantees, which is LC and LCs, bank guarantees and LCs. Then we have a question on stationery and sundry assets. If I have to say, entire sundry assets can be done remotely, entire sundry assets can be done remotely, then the review and monitoring partially can be done remotely, guarantee and LC's statement can be done remotely, comments on cash balance can be partly done remotely. So a majority items can be done remotely. Now, when it is, there are a lot of questionnaire, okay, LFR questionnaire I'm not going through, but anything which is which has to be reported, the workings paper for each of that can be managed back with a person sitting at home, right? This is a pretty exhaustive presentation which I have made, but what I'm walking you through is whatever which is important presentation only is being I'm walking through. Then coming on the tax audits and its annexures. Now, tax audit, we do not in the bank branch audit, we definitely do not have a detailed tax audits. We have only a specific questionnaire. We have a specific questionnaire. We just need to answer those questionnaires. These questionnaires can also be looked from people sitting back in the office. When it comes to the fixed assets, acquisition, transfer, disposal. So you have to, there is an asset register and the purchase register, someone can check is it matching or not. So most of the certificates which is printed and given to you for signature is not prepared manually. 99.99% is system generated. All those certificates can be shared to the person sitting at home. He can verify using the working papers, is that certificate matching or not. You can create a Google Doc saying that, okay, these are the things to be verified. Whatever it is verified and ready for signature, you can just prepare a folder. Okay, move that file. Okay, this is verified and move it. You can have a master Google Doc saying, okay, these are the items to be done. Like your audit planning document, just move it to Google Doc. Just have one more column who is verifying. As and when they verify, they just enter their name, move the file to a separate sheet. In fact, in the Google Drive or OneDrive, you can share the files with a link. You can just copy paste that link into that sheet. This is the best way you can improve your documentation. Trust me, when someone is doing remotely and someone is here, it is necessarily to bring the principle of discipline. Someone has to link or cross-verify one file with another. Cross-verify one file with another. It would serve as your working paper. Tomorrow during the peer review, when someone says, okay, you have signed this, where is the working paper? That link will help you or make it as a working paper for you. Then they have the requirement of 269T. Looking from the cash scroll, you can check. When it comes to the TDS deduction, there are TDS FUV files. Generally, mostly the branches take separate TAN for each of the branch so that let the compliance of the branch be held there. You can download FUV files. It's a text files. You can apply the same formula, convert it into an Excel file, summarize 4 quarters, get the total expenditure. You will get by PAN wise. P&L expenditure, you ask, give me the interest PAN wise or the depositor wise. Do a VLOOKUP and match. You will get list of the accounts where the TDS is not done. Just give it to the branch manager saying that, okay, this is not done. Let the branch manager give, okay, have they obtained 15G or whatever, he will give you a certificate and saying that, okay, build your working paper. So you have an obligation to report that we know in the TDS that is a exhaustive. This is expenditure. So much TDS compliance is applicable. On this applicable, so much TDS has been done. On this expenditure, TDS is not done. You got to split it and give. So that is a TDS task. GST input tax credit. We know GST compliance is a state wise. So the branches consolidate data and give it to the head office. Basically, the input tax credit ledger, CGST, SGST ledgers, input tax credit ledgers, just go through those ledgers and see whether the expenditure to the credit is it matching or not. The major credits which generally the branch get is the rental expenditure, capex purchases related expenditure. The 2A versus 3B reconciliation is done at the head office level. So the ask for us is the input which has been given, is it matching? So cross verify some of the bills. Now the obligation of the GST TDS is the section 51 TDS which needs to be done under GST. A public sector undertaking, if they are spending expenditure more than 2.5 lakhs. Now some of the banks have taken a call that they are not a government entity, so they do not do TDS. Just take and what is the bank policy and move further from there and take a your own confirmation of the things, right? Yeah, major expenditure, do a cash payment review, TDS, interest rate I have mentioned. Please log into traces. Take the log into traces. If there are any defaults, it will become an it become a MOC, because these defaults have necessarily they have to pay an interest. Whether there is if there is a provision, well and good. Otherwise, it has to provided by way an MOC, and the banks has the limit. They may say up to 25,000, 50,000. It is not an MOC item. So look at the default amount and see the provision, and especially the late fees, all the classification which is done in the traces, make a provision of it. Certificates, the primary question one has to understand is what is the process of verifying the certificate, what is the source of it. Let's take Basel. Now if I have to sign it, I need to know what is Basel. Now Basel is checked at the bank as a whole. When they are checking a bank as a whole, the branches are submitting, this is my sectorial classification. This is my sectorial classification. Now, how is this sectorial classification coming? You ask whether it is system generated or manually prepared. Ask for, give me the itemized list. You are saying, okay, real estate sector is so much. How much is residential real estate, commercial real estate? Because risk attached to each of it is different. You ask how much it is different for each of it. Then do a classification. Wherever you are finding an error, you say, okay, this is an error, and use pivot tables or ifs, sum ifs, everything of that, and do the classification. So finally to summarize, before we take some of the Q&A, this year definitely the bank branch audit is going to be a little different way. I am pretty much sure every one of you have sufficient knowledge on how to do the audit or what is the area of it, and most of you have subject domain technical knowledge way ahead of me. All that I am trying to say is segregate that tasks into system based, which can be done at the back end, those which has to be done in the system. Just segregate and do that, and those which have to be done in the back end, do a proper planning of, we have seen the scope, and do a role mapping. Who is the one who is sitting in the back end doing it? While you are doing a physical execution, have a proper way. Hello. That okay, these are the tools which I use. These are the navigation screens. This is what I will execute. Then build your working papers, proper working papers, and reconciliation schedules, subschedules. It will ease you to ensure the audit reporting is simple and very proper and valid. So this is what I want to give an overview of what portion of an audit one can do by sitting at home, and what are the necessary tools and tips one needs to know when he is sitting and doing the things at home, right? So with this, we have come to end of the session. Get your overall satisfaction for yourself, and if you have any Q&A question and answers you have specifically which can be taken up, feel free to ask me. To the extent I know I will be able to answer you. Do not forget to attend the important session of Suresh sir, where he is going to take up on the notifications by the RBI and the NPA norms, or the relevant the circulars which have come, the COVID relaxation measures which have come, where the cutoff date which has been taken to 1st March, and the relaxation on the out of order and other things. So that would be available. With this, I end my session, and thanks to all of you. Thanks to KCA for actually giving an opportunity to share some of my views. And here is my email ID. If you have any doubt or clarification on the Excel tips, you can always write to me. Yeah. With this, I end my session. Over to you. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, are you in for taking questions now?
Yes.
So the viewers, you can see a Q&A tab on your screen. Any questions can be posted there. We will take as many questions as possible within the time frame which we have. So
I see questions coming on the uploading of the presentation copy. So you could share how this material can be shared.
Yeah, the background material which is used for this presentation will be uploaded in the official website of KCA. You can download the material from there, and the YouTube video of the video of the entire webinar will be posted on YouTube. You can check out the video as well. So any technical questions which you would want the speaker to answer now can be posted, which will be answered by the speaker. So you can make use of the Q&A tab which is on your screen, and the speaker will be directly answering your questions if any. There was a question as to whether the report code in Finacle will be the same, and I think it has already been answered by the speaker that the report codes were already shown out by the speaker. So I think that is resolved. Apart from that, if there is any other questions, it can be posted.
They are all. It's not that if you walk through those FlexCube or Finacle codes, that is exhaustive. But definitely those are the indicative and required the screens, and with navigating that, sufficient amount of the information would be obtained.
Okay, we have a few questions coming in. One is if Office 365 is must for working these files, or a lower version of Excel will do.
Definitely lower version. Excel 97 would also be sufficient, and you would be able to do it. Next question, how we can take the statements on a monthly basis? Sir, you should be able to ask the branch the data you need it on a monthly basis. Whatever you are extracting on the year end, all those data is there on the month end. It's just that we don't ask these questions. We can ask the questions and we can actually get the data. Is there a last date to complete the bank branch audit? Respective banks would indicate the last date. And the next question is, please share audit focus on return to ABC asset based classification and provisioning. See, there are two things which we need for the MOC for the asset based classification and provisioning. we know that the provisioning is done definitely at the HO level. Provisioning is done at the HO level and not at the branch level. But if the classification changes, it was classified as standard, but it is a substandard, or the date of NPA is changing, because of that it is substandard to a D1, D2, any of the category, then the provision changes. Because of the change in the provision, we issue an MOC. That is one MOC. Second, an asset has been classified as a priority sector, but it is not a priority sector because the classification is changed from priority to the public sector, the sector. So the issue that would come up is the people will the at the head office level, the general provisioning which is done for a standard asset, or the Basel related the CAR ratio or the other ratios which the bank has to maintain, that will undergo a change. So again, you have to classification of sector wise or classification of the performance wise, both would need an MOC.
There is a
Can you
question
please share
asking
the
you to
Excel
share the
formulas
Excel
used?
formulas used.
So the formulas which are used, what I will do is in one slide I will copy all the formulas which have been used, and while uploading, so you take a look at those formulas too.
There is an appreciation coming in, telling there's a very nice session and value adding session.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions can be posted. We can spend a minute more to take a few more questions, if any, and we can conclude. Yeah, I think we can conclude by this.
Sure. So I should
So-
definitely thank the organizers, ASCA team, for giving an opportunity to present some of my views. And as I said, definitely from the bank branch audit domain perspective, most of the viewers out there would have a sufficient knowledge. The objective of today's session is how much of that audit we can shift it back to home, and at the home, what are the things which we can conduct with the limited knowledge, whatever I have, I could share with my views. So thank you, KCA team, for giving an opportunity to share some of the views. So thank you.
So thank you, speaker, for guiding us on how to conduct the bank audit from home. I'm pretty sure that with today's session, we are pretty much equipped to conduct the bank audits at the earliest. Thanks to the speaker once again for accepting the offer to speak. Thank you for letting us know how to make the best use of technology to conduct the bank audits. I would also like to thank the technical person behind the webinar, CA Vijay Kumar Patel, the chairman of Media and Technology Initiative Committee of KCA. If not for your efforts, the flawless conduct of this webinar would not have been possible. So before we conclude, I would like to once again remind all the attendees about the upcoming webinar and also about the meal delivery initiative. We have a webinar at 11 a.m. tomorrow on bank branch audit in COVID times and recent developments by CAPR Suresh sir, requesting you all to register immediately for the same. Also, the meal delivery initiative is still open, requesting you all to contribute for the same. So special thanks to all the listeners for your patient listening and for your active participation. Thank you one and all.
Thank you.